Hello everyone, it's Mihaela. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm so excited that you're joining me today. I am going to be making a slimline card, which is probably one of my favorite things to do. So, I am going to be using the Butterfly Kisses flip-flop set, and also I'm going to be using Butterfly Kisses, as you see here. And I'm also going to be using the new Better Days stamp set by Fawn. This is the exclusive one that came with the last release. And I will be incorporating all three of these sets and making a slimline card. So first I'm just going to start off by stamping my images. So I'm just continuing to stamp them out. I'm using my Altenew crisp black ink it's in permanent black. And I'm just picking out quite a few images here, so I decided to speed this up quite a bit. There's a lot of stamping involved, and I want to show you guys some other things on this video. So I'm stamping out quite a few butterflies, and later I actually go back in and stamp out more. So now I'm going to start coloring. For the foxes, I am using my TN7 and TN8 in my Spectrum Noir markers. So I am starting with the darkest color and blending out with my lightest. So again, I will speed this up a bit and I'll let you watch if you want, or if not, you can speed through this part.
If you wanna run away with me, I know a galaxy and I can take you for a ride. I had a premonition that we fell into a rhythm where the music don't stop for life. Glitter in the sky, glitter in my eyes, shining just the way I like. If you're feeling like you need a little bit of company, you met me at the perfect time. You want me, I want you, baby. My sugar boo, I'm levitating. The Milky Way, we're renegading. Yeah, 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 yeah. I got you, moonlight. You're my starlight. I need you all night. Come on, dance with me. I'm levitating. You, moonlight. You're my starlight. I need you all night. Come on, dance with me. I'm levitating.
I'm one of the greatest, ain't no debating on it. I'm still levitated, I'm heavily medicated. Ironic, I gave him love and they end up hating on me. She told me she loved me and she been waiting. Been fighting hard for your love and I'm running thin on my patience. Needing someone to hug, even took it back to the basics. You see what you got me out here doing? Might have threw me off, but can't nobody stop the movement. Let's go. Left foot, right foot, levitating. Pop stars, do a leap with the baby. I had to lace my shoes for all the blessings I was chasing. If I ever slip, I fall into a better situation. So catch up, go put some cheese on it, get out and get your bread up. They always leave when you fall, but you run together. Weight of the world on my shoulders, I kept my head up. Now baby, stand up, cause girl, you
want me, I want you, baby. My sugar boo, I'm levitating. The Milky Way, we're renegading. Yeah, 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 yeah.
So I'm just picking out my slimline dies. I was showing you the grassy slimline dies. Those are new from Fawn. And also my hills here. I'm going to pick one of those later. And I'm going to be using the largest stitched rectangle for the slimline dies by Fawn. This is measured at 3.5 by 8.5 inches. So I'm going to take out my Tumbled glass distress ink and my ink blender. And I'm going to be using the new Fawn Cloudy Slimline stencil. So it's going to be the exact same as the regular Cloudy stencil by Fawn for the A2 size cards, but this one is perfect for those slim lines. It's long enough and it's not going to give you kind of like an awkward middle edge when you're trying to use the small one on a slim line. So this has definitely helped me out in my slimline cards. And I really like the look of clouds on a Slimline scene card. It just kind of brings it all together. So I'm just using one of the cloudy stencils. This is the larger clouds, I've noticed. So the other stencil that I'm about to grab is actually kind of smaller. So the puffs on the clouds are a little bit smaller. So what I end up doing here is I'm rotating to kind of see where it looks good. This one is the smaller one, and I'm going to rotate from big to small, big to small. I just love how these clouds are turning out. They are just so cute and they make me so happy. And like I said before, this is just a great scene setting stencil. Definitely was a must-have from the new release for me. So now that I've got my clouds all put together, I'm just going to do a light spritz. I often like to kind of do that, although I did find that this didn't do much on the tumbled ink, or tumbled glass ink. Just using my stamp chamois, I didn't have any paper towel to kind of bring off those water droplets. So now I am going to get my grass and hill all put together. So first I am using Twisted Citron Distress Oxide and Mowed Lawn Distressed Ink. And when I spray later, I like the Distress Oxide for the way that it'll pull away a little bit more of the color off when you spray. And also I just wanted the vibrancy of the Mowed Lawn Distress Ink. So that's kind of my reasoning for picking these. So here I'm just kind of blending out the colors, and I'm finding that they go really well together, and it's kind of just making this really fun grass color. So I just keep blending out those colors, bringing each one back in so that they kind of have a seamless look. I don't want any sharp edges between the two colors. And I forgot to mention, I started off with a kind of citron kind of color, just so that I didn't have to build as much color. I didn't want to start with a white base. It would just take forever to get the color I was trying to achieve, and just uses a lot more ink. So there's a good tip. If you use a colored cardstock, it'll just work out a lot better in the end. So I'm just continuing to blend out those colors, and I'm happy with the result. So I am taking my Hill Slimline die, and I already cut it out there. And these grass ones are brand new, so I'm just trimming them apart with my clippers there. And I'm using the grass die. So since these are never used before, I'm still kind of trying to decide which one would look best. I kind of want to offset the hills, and I end up going with that first one. So I go off screen here and die cut that piece. So now I've got all my die cut pieces and I can start assembling. So I did go off screen and spray that grass and the hill with just a little bit of water with my distress sprayer again, just to get that look that I was trying to achieve with kind of pulling off that color a little bit. Just kind of create some texture for grass, I find, or just like hills, all sorts. Just because it's not going to be perfect in nature, and I want it to kind of look a little bit more realistic. So I'm using my 3M double-sided adhesive foam, and I'm just kind of getting that all lined up there. And I wanted just like a little bit of different dimension in this card, so I had just adhered the hill with my easy runner, but this I wanted to have kind of popped up. It just makes it look fun to have different levels on the card. And at this point, I can kind of see where all of my stamped and colored images are going to go. I have used all the coordinating dies to cut those out. And I want it to kind of be symmetrical in a way. That's kind of how I like to have the cards. It just makes it look nicer, I think, just to kind of have a little bit of symmetry. Not perfect symmetry, but a little bit goes a long way on the cards. So I am just gluing and using my Studia Cadia embellishment wand. I just got a new nib, so I'm happy to use it again. It was getting tricky to use without the nib. Without a good nib, I should say. I had used it so much. So this is a sentiment from that exclusive set, Better Days. So I am going to stamp that out before I do any more adhering. And I'm going to use Versafine ink to kind of make it a little bit crisper, a little bit more detailed. And I find it's just a more vibrant black for what I'm wanting here. Because for a sentiment, it can be a little bit... I don't need to have it Copic friendly, basically. So I stamped that out. It's looking good. I always use a stamp press for my sentiments. Or, not always. I shouldn't say always. But for something like that, I try to have it aligned nicely with my stamp press. So now that I have my sentiment, I can start adhering images, which is definitely my favorite part. You do so much work to get to this point, and once you get here, it's so fun to see where these critters are going to go. And I think that's probably my favorite thing about Lawn Fawn is that you have so much versatility with these stamps. You can use so many different sets together, and I have so many sets now, but it's so cool that they also brought out these flip-flop stamps, because how cute is it that you can make these two look like they're going in for a hug, or they can use their butterfly catchers both in unison. They also have the elephant flip-flop stamps and the chameleon, which is super cool. I've already used the elephants in another another card, and that was super fun. So as you can see, I'm just adhering down images. I had colored a little bit of extra images off screen because I realized I just wanted a variety of different colors. And now that that's all put together, I realized I wanted to put another sentiment that went with it at the bottom there. So this sentiment reads, "By hugs, I mean this card," because the sentiment reads, "Better days are ahead. Until then, I'm sending hugs. By hugs, I mean this card." Because the reality is that we're not seeing our friends and family as much as we would really like to be doing, and COVID has just taken a toll on everyone in so many different ways. So the recipient of this card will probably be my grandma. I miss her so much. I try to talk to her on the phone as much as I can, but it's just not the same. And she doesn't really like to FaceTime, or she hasn't quite mastered Zoom or anything like that. So unfortunately, it's just phone calls for now, but I'm very hopeful that everything will turn out soon. But I'm sure this card will brighten her day. And with that sentiment, I got really brave and used my powder tool first, but then I used my Versamark clear embossing ink, and then I used my superfine white Ranger embossing powder. So it seemed to have worked out for me, thank goodness, but I wouldn't really suggest this. If I could have done this earlier in the process, that would have been great, but it was kind of a last minute decision. So I'm just off camera heating that up, and thankfully it actually turned out really good. And it's one of those happy moments where you can kind of take a dance because look at this, it turned out so good, and I'm just so happy about this card. So now that I'm done the embossing, I'm just going to go in with some final details. I'm using my Uni-ball white gel pen, and it's a broad tip. I think I'm going to buy a not so broad tip as well, just to kind of see what I like. But for now, this gel pen is working really good. And this is the one that I find works best for details because it really makes a clear white line or dot or whatever you're using, instead of some other ones I use. I don't find leave as good of a white mark. I have to kind of go over them quite a few times. I'm just kind of adding in some details there, kind of where some ink went off the lines. I'm putting in some white to kind of hide that. And it's just really coming together. I really like putting just a little bit of white gel pen. It just kind of makes the critters look a little bit more cartoonish almost. Just kind of highlighting some of their features. And it's so cute, I find, with the gel pen. And off camera, I actually put this on a card base that was 7 inches by 8.5, and just folded that in half to make the nice slimline card. And here is the finished card. So you can see the different dimension in the card. The critters look like they're having so much fun with all the butterflies, and it just looks like a happy spring scene. So thank you for joining. If you like this video, make sure to press subscribe and hit that bell so you know when I'm going to post another video. Thank you.